So, let's see. Start the Asylum Demon. Asylum Demon here is a pretty solid boss for a tutorial boss. It's a great tutorial boss. I think the Undead Asylum is one of the best tutorial areas in all of gaming. I think it's a perfect introduction. Yeah, you enter this boss arena and you know you're brand new. You spawned like 2 minutes ago, and all of a sudden this giant demon basically jumps on top of you, and you don't know until you look at it, but there's a door that opens up, and you can escape the boss arena, and then you go to the rest of the tutorial, and you can do big damage to the boss by landing a critical hit on its head from above. It's a really well done tutorial. As far as the boss itself goes, it's eh. I think it does a great job of introducing the game, the tutorial in general, but as for the boss itself, I'd say it's a pretty comfortable C tier. Remember, C is not bad. C is just, it's all right. I am pretty picky as well, as far as what I will award higher grades, but C is good. It's not bad. Taurus Demon. Yeah, Taurus Demon's all right. It's you know, you enter. It's on a narrow playing field, and there's 2 archers above that can make your life a little more difficult, but just turn around and kill them. That's all you have to do. It's nothing special. It's pretty easy to dodge. Slow boss. Even on my first playthrough, I don't know if I've ever died to the Taurus Demon, which says a lot. But it's early game. It's easy. It's easing its way. You're easing your way into the game. It's not a skill check boss, which is what the Soul series is known for. I would say pretty comfortable C tier. I'd put it even below the Asylum Demon, just for Asylum Demon being a little bit more memorable. All right, the Bell Gargoyles. I wouldn't quite call this a skill check boss because they're pretty easy, but if you don't kill the first gargoyle fast enough, you know, it can be a little tricky with 2 bosses. But they're pretty weak. Yeah, they're pretty weak. I just did a magic build playthrough and I absolutely obliterated them in like 15 seconds maybe. Really, melee or ranged build, it's not hard. It's not hard. You have a pretty wide open battlefield on top of the roof to move around, so it's not really difficult. You know, it'd be different if it's in a confined space like the next boss on this list, but you have plenty of room to move around. Don't forget to cut off the tail to get the axe, the gargoyle tail axe, whatever it's called. But yeah, again, pretty comfortable C tier. I put it above the Taurus Demon though. Now the Capra Demon. Oh, the Capra Demon. So the Capra Demon is the first skill check boss, I think. As my friend Garrett put it, it's a noob trap boss. So you enter the arena. It's tiny. It kind of looks like an area like when you're in a city and the houses are right next to each other. It basically takes place in an area like that, very narrow boss arena. And the boss itself is but the dogs that you have to fight to get to that area, that's the real kicker. That's the real kicker. 2 dogs rush you, and then they have weird hitboxes. They can be hard to hit at times too because they can dodge. And then all the while the Capra Demon comes after you. Now, what you need to do is the easiest way, whether it be range or melee build, just there's a set of stairs. Just run to the top of those. The dogs should come up there, and then just whack them. And then after that, the Capra Demon itself is not too difficult. It's just the problem is getting cornered in such a small arena. But it is a very memorable boss. It really is the first skill check boss. It's not, I don't know if I call it a great boss because it is kind of, I don't love bosses in confined spaces personally. But based on the sheer memorable boss encounter alone, I'll give it a C. I'll actually put it above the Asylum Demon. Moonlight Butterfly. I think I said this on Threads. I can't remember. I don't get on Threads or Twitter that much anymore because it's kind of a dumpster fire. I think Moonlight Butterfly is the most boring boss fight in the game, and I actually think it is quite possibly my pick for the worst boss fight in the game. It's one of them. It's definite D tier in case you couldn't figure that out by now. However, with my intelligence-based build, I did get the butterfly horn, so it's good for that, I guess. If you're a range build, you'll kill the boss in like 5 seconds. If you are a melee build, it just kind of floats in the air for a while until you can hit it, and it's just boring. You just stand there, and sometimes I don't know if the tracking on it is off, but the Moonlight Butterfly will just kind of stand up there or stay floating up in the air for, it's been like a minute at times, and you're just sitting there waiting. I don't like that. It's boring. Easy D tier. The Gaping Dragon. Okay, this is going to be the first one that's above C, I think. The boss of the depths. I like the depths. It's a good area. It's claustrophobic in a good way. Like I said, I don't usually like confined spaces for boss fights, but this takes place at the bottom of the depths, and the boss arena is big. The design is hideous, which I like. It's a hideous design. It's a dragon with, like I said, gaping dragon teeth all down the stomach. Memorable design. Just be sure to make this boss fight a lot easier. Kill the I don't know the exact name of the enemy, but those ranged wizard guys that are up there. If you don't kill them before, they will make the boss fight a lot harder, especially if it's your first playthrough. Pretty slow boss, not that hard to dodge all of its attacks, but it's a good one. I like it. I like the boss design. Music's great. It's a good one. B tier. Easy B tier. Chaos Witch Quelaag, or Quelaag, whatever. She's your reward for getting all the way to the bottom of Blighttown, which Blighttown's not really that bad. It was bad on the old version, but we're talking about the remastered version here. I remember playing Dark Souls on the 360 back in the day, and yes, the frame rate was pretty terrible in an old Blighttown. But getting to the bottom there, it's a really cool boss arena. It kind of looks like a spider web, and she looks cool. She's like part spider / woman. It's really cool. Cool boss design. Use a lot of fire-based attacks. Actually, range build is probably easier than melee build. When you get close as a melee build, she'll do this giant fire puddle or lava puddle, and it can kill you pretty quickly. Other than that, she's not too hard to dodge, but I would put this above Gaping Dragon. I think she's a great boss fight. And her lore is pretty cool, but this is not a lore video. You can go to Vadi Video for that. I highly recommend if you haven't. Iron Golem. Okay. Sense Fortress is one of my favorite areas in the game. It's basically a big messed up Souls-like funhouse with, you know, swinging blades and like four Taurus demons. If you fall to the bottom, and if you're farming Demon Titanite, you have to kill them. Getting to the top here, it's a good area, but get to the top there. I think Iron Golem is a really disappointing boss fight. It's pretty easy to stagger. You hit its legs, it staggers. You can even get it to where it just falls off. You can knock it off the arena entirely and kill it with barely any effort. On my last playthrough where I used an intelligence build, I think I hit it 4 times and died. I think it's a disappointing boss fight for a great area. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. All right, maybe the most famous or infamous boss in the entire game, Orstein and Smo. The ultimate skill check boss. Maybe the pinnacle of skill check bosses in gaming. Orstein and Smo, yeah, it can be frustrating, but that build up, I mean, Anne Orlando is the best area in the entire game. Maybe the best area in the entire Souls series, or at least if we're talking about the 3 Dark Souls games. And you could probably put it up there with the best of the best in the Souls series. It's a great area. It looks so cool, but this isn't an area ranking, this is a boss ranking, and the build up helps. And yeah, a lot of people don't like multiple enemies as a boss fight, but I think this one's pulled off pretty well here. And the gimmick is, depending on which one you kill first, so I usually kill Orstein first, and what will happen is Smo will absorb Orstein and get some of his capabilities and attributes, and vice versa if you kill Smo first. And that changes what boss weapon you can get as well, or what boss soul you get. Really cool. The arena is cool. There's a little bit of destructible environment going on in the arena. I think it's the perfect size one too. It's indoors, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic. And I don't usually love the gank bosses either, but I think it's a fair fight, and I think I have to give it an S tier. It's great. The music is great too. My God, the music is great. So Orstein Smo, S tier, S for skill check, and just a great boss. And it's the perfect ending to a great area. Now, a lot of people think that Orstein and Smo is where the quality of Dark Souls starts to dip the second half of the game. I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. I still think there's some good areas and some great bosses. I mean, clearly we have plenty of room here. So next is the Stray Demon. The Stray Demon's basically a reskin of the Asylum Demon with more health when you go back to the Asylum the second time. Yeah, it's the same boss. There's really not much different, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. I'd say it's slightly better than well, now I'm going to put it below the Asylum Demon since it's a reskin, but yeah, C tier. Not much to it, really. But you go back to the Asylum to get the Peculiar Doll, so you can go to the Painted World, and that's where Crossbreed Priscilla is. Optional boss. The lore is incredibly sad, and once you read up on the lore and then you decide to fight her, you kind of feel like a terrible human being. So I think that's pretty cool. And she does give you the scythe, is it the Lifeblood Scythe, which is one of my favorite weapons. Pretty decent boss fight. She turns invisible, and you kind of have to follow her footprints in the snow. and she doesn't initiate combat with the player unless you attack her first. It's a really sad boss fight, but maybe not the saddest boss fight on this list because we're coming up to that. Not a hard boss fight, but man, is it memorable. I'm gonna put it in low beats here. It's not super difficult, but maybe I'm a little biased because I think the character is really sad and it's a memorable character. Let's see, Dark Sun Gwendolyn. An optional boss fight. It's fine. It's really easy. You just have to dodge these spells from afar. You basically run down this hallway, almost like the it's like the Super Mario 64 staircase where you tried to go up to fight Bowser the last time, and Bowser in the sky, and the staircase is endless until you get 70 stars. It's kind of like that, except it's just a flat hallway. But it just keeps going until you kill her. She just uses some magic-based attacks, and as long as you run and dodge those, she'll go down in a couple hits, regardless of your build. Pretty easy. Not much else to say. I'm gonna put it like C tier. A lot of C tier bosses. This one's not a C tier. Great Grey Wolf Sith. This boss can be a little tricky. I had a lot of trouble with it earlier in my first couple playthroughs of Dark Souls. Another sad boss too. This is the other one with Priscilla. That's super sad. Artorias' friend. We're not too Artorias yet, but Artorias is good boy who's defending his grave. And it's really sad because Sif can move fast, but about halfway, once you get about halfway through Sif's health bar, he starts to slow down and stagger, and you can tell he's in pain as you wail hits on him. I think this is one that's easier for melee builds than range builds, at least with my last playthrough. I felt like range build was a little tougher, but that's just me, because Sif's sword is huge, has a lot of range. But yeah, just sad boss fight, but he's a good boy. I'm gonna give this one an A. I think it's good. I wouldn't call Sif a cakewalk, but I wouldn't call Sif super difficult either. And it's a very memorable boss fight. And like I said earlier, I like boss fights with wide open arenas, and this one's a good one. And the music is great, and it's just the mechanic of making Sif slower as you wail hits on him. It just makes you think about yourself and what you're doing in life. Yeah, it's got real deep. All right, Pinwheel. Oh my god, easy D tier. So there's a theory, and I don't know if it was ever proven, but Pinwheel is the boss of the catacombs, which is a good area, by the way. I like the catacombs. I like skeletons. Pinwheel is a joke, and I don't even know if I've even seen all of Pinwheel's attack patterns, because he dies in like 3 hits, no matter the build, really. So a lot of people at Firelink Shrine, you know, you go to the Undead Burg, the Undead Parish after that. Like, you go up the stairs. But if you keep going straight instead, past the bonfire, you can go to the catacombs right away. And you can tell that you are not supposed to be there because the enemies will kill you very quickly. But Pinwheel dies in like 3 hits. And so there's people who are like, oh, I wonder if originally you were supposed to go, like, the game designers were like, oh yeah, you were supposed to go to the catacombs first, but that wasn't meant to be, and Pinwheel's a joke of a boss, and easy D tier. Gravelord Nito. This is a pretty divisive boss, I feel like. Design-wise, he's sick. He's cool. He's like the Grim Reaper, but multiple skeletons into one giant body. It's awesome. He's got a pretty cool weapon too, the sword, the Grave Lord sword. That what it's called? Cool boss fight. Aesthetically speaking, it will summon other skeletons to go after you. But there's also a way you can kind of cheese it where he does this like AoE effect where he like, I don't even know what to call it. It's like this black cloud that kills everything, and he'll like basically kill them for you. When I was playing as a ranged build, kind of had a little bit of trouble with it because he has this like sword, these like sword spikes that come out of the ground. And when I was casting spells, that's when they would always seem to come out. Not a super difficult boss fight, but I actually think it's a pretty good one. And a lot of people don't feel that way. I feel like it's a pretty divisive boss. I feel like I've seen people put it all the way from D up to A. I'm like high B. I like Nito. I like Nito better than Quelaag. Ceaseless Discharge. All right, so we're in like the Demon Ruins area of the game, and this is not the best area. This is kind of the part where people feel like the second half of Dark Souls isn't as good, and I would agree that Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith in particular are pretty bad, but the other areas I don't feel like are that bad. We'll get to those later. But the Ceaseless Discharge, this is another D. I would probably put it below Moonlight Butterfly and Pinwheel. There's a way to cheese it where you run to this altar and pick up this armor, and then that will trigger the boss fight, and then you can run all the way to the fog gate, and the boss will pretty much just die. It's so stupid. Okay, I don't even know if I've actually beaten this boss legitimately, which from what I understand is very easy as well. I just do that trick every time. Yeah, and just the name, ugh, gross. Ceaseless Discharge. I don't know who thought that was a good idea for a name. Demon Fire Sage. A reskin. Literally, I'm gonna move the demons down here because I don't like reskin bosses. Demon Fire Sage is yet another reskin of the Asylum Demon and the Stray Demon, just with fire. Ooh, yeah. There's not really much else I need to say. It's literally a reskin. Still not a bad boss fight, but it's a reskin. Centipede Demon. This was a boss fight I didn't realize until I watched a YouTube video that he can like break apart into other demons or other centipedes. Didn't know that because the boss is dead before I can even do that. Because this is toward the end of the game, so not really a great boss fight. I'm gonna put it in D tier. It's the garish orange lava color is all over the screen. It's like it's messed up. I could show you a screenshot, but no. If you played the game, you know. The orange lava effect on the screen is garish, and it's a small-ish arena, and you have to beat this to get the orange charred ring, which is how you can walk across lava with taking just very little damage. It's not good. It's not memorable at all. And now the Bed of Chaos. Don't get me wrong, I think the Bed of Chaos is bad. However, I respect them for trying. It's a puzzle boss. Kind of like the dragon from Demon Souls. I don't remember the name of the dragon exactly, but like the dragon from Demon Souls, it's a puzzle boss. It's still bad, but I don't think it's the worst boss in the entire game. I would probably put it above Centipede Demon and Pinwheel and Ceaseless Discharge because those are complete jokes. Especially Pinwheel and Ceaseless Discharge. To me, those are complete jokes. The Bed of Chaos, though, at least had something go for it. The problem was they tried to shoehorn a puzzle platformer style boss into a game that is not meant to do platforming. It's really up until Elden Ring, platforming segments in the Souls games were pretty bad. And Bed of Chaos is no exception. The arena is destructible, and sometimes it would feel like the game was intentionally just imploding the areas of the arena that you were stepping on just to mess with you. And I don't know, and lore wise the Bed of Chaos is pretty cool too, but it's not a great boss fight. I've never really had a lot of trouble with it though, but it's a puzzle boss fight. It's not good, so we'll put it in like middle D tier. Sith the Scaleless. So this is where we get to the Duke's Archives, which the Duke's Archives to me is actually a pretty good area. I like the Duke's Archives. It's another example when people are like, oh, the later areas in Dark Souls aren't as good. I think the Duke's Archives is pretty good. And then this is what the Crystal Caves, which is like technically kind of sort of part of the Duke's Archives. That's where you fight Sith the Scaleless. Did you know Sith was in the original Kingsfield? I just didn't know that. It's a pretty cool fact. Sith the Scaleless. Not really a great, but he's slow. He looks cool. He's super slow. That's something you'll find. Dark Souls 1 is slow in comparison to the other Souls games. 2 sped things up a little bit, and then 3 is kind of like where the modern Souls combat almost came from. Because Elden Ring is basically an enhanced version of Dark Souls 3's combat, but that's another tangent. But you notice I've said that for a lot of boss fights, because a lot of them are slow. He can be difficult though, because he can curse you, and that is annoying. So I'll give him that. I'm gonna go high C. God, C is just filling up. Jeez. All right, this is a good one. Four Kings, awesome boss fight, fantastic boss fight. As this is another area of the game when people say I don't think Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 1's second half is as good. The New Londo Ruins, I think it's a great area. I think it is very atmospheric. The ghosts. I like the idea of like underwater ruins. It's dark. It's a little scary. Mysterious in a way. I love the New Londo Ruins. It's actually one of my favorite areas in the game. And I think the Four Kings is a great boss fight. It's a DPS race, yes. It was a little tricky as a ranged build. Strength build, pretty easy, because as long as you're strong, you can kill them pretty quickly if you know what you're doing. If you don't have high enough DPS though, this boss fight can be a struggle. I actually think that Four Kings is an S tier boss fight. Personally, that's my opinion. The arena is really cool, dropping into the abyss. You get the Abyss Walker ring from Sith, and yeah, it's a cool boss fight. It's almost disorienting, but in a good way. I like it. Great boss fight, memorable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right. Number 22, Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. This is the last boss. The rest are DLC bosses. Gwyn. Gwyn is cool. It's a cool boss fight. There's a lot of buildup. It's a pretty easy boss fight if you know what you're doing. If you are a parrier, which I tend to be, done a lot of dex builds. I know, I'm a dirty dex player. And the music is fantastic. Like, I take music into account for things because I think game music is awesome. My Spotify is mostly game music. Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. Cool boss fight. Memorable. If you don't parry, it can be a little more tricky. So if you're like a magic build, it can be a little tricky if you're not equipped correctly. But still, it's got an epic feel to it. I love the lore as well. And the arena is really cool. And the area leading up to it is really awesome. Gwyn gets an A from me. I'm actually gonna, at the end, we'll kind of move the list around again. But we'll see. I think I'm gonna make an adjustment. All right, Knight Artorias. I think if you've played Dark Souls, you know where this is going. Artorias, easy. Probably, yeah, I think it's the best boss fight in the game. Easy S tier. The DLC bosses are a little tricky. They're pretty difficult because the bosses feel more sped up. They're not slow and lethargic like a lot of the vanilla Dark Souls bosses are. Artorias is fast. Like, he feels almost like a Dark Souls 3 style boss into Dark Souls 1, and it makes it very hard. But in a good way. It's a fair fight. Especially in his second form, it is very difficult. As a range build, good luck, because he hits fast and heavy. But as a melee build, it's like the best duel in the game. It's one of my favorite Dark Souls memories is beating Artorias for the first time. I felt amazing without summons. It was cool. Black Dragon Calam. This is a tricky boss fight. I've said tricky a lot, but that's my word. Black Dragon Calam. I think this is right below Artorias in difficulty. I don't love dragon bosses as much. I don't know why. In the Souls games, I just haven't always loved dragon bosses. But Calamit's a good one. I had an easier time in my intelligence build with Calamit than I did with the melee builds. Especially like the slower strength builds, it felt more difficult. When I used a dex build with the scythe, it was easier. But yeah, epic music, really cool. It's probably my favorite dragon boss in the Dark Souls trilogy. It's not a super high bar, especially after Dark Souls 2. Oof, God, we'll rank those at some point. But yeah, Black Dragon Calamit's good. It's a really, really good boss fight. Manus, Father of the Abyss. To those that don't know, I am into craft beer quite a bit. And if I ever make a stout myself, I would name it Father of the Abyss. And Manus is good. Really difficult if you're not set up correctly. Melee build, I think I've only actually beaten... No, I didn't beat Manus with the range build. I got so annoyed. But Manus is great. It's really cool design. And the DLC bosses in general are really cool. I guess I should have let off with Sanctuary Guardian because that one is the first boss fight in the DLC. I kind of flipped that one out of order, so that's my bad. But Manus is a great boss fight. Super memorable. That whole area leading up to it is cool. And you can see Sith again in the Abyss right before Manus, if I'm remembering correctly. Really cool. Great lore as well. If you guys haven't, you should go watch Vadi Video and watch all of the lore videos. So cool. Manus, that's a high A tier. And then, yeah, I'm sorry, the Sanctuary Guardian is actually the first boss fight you fight in the DLC. It's not the most memorable, which is probably why I forgot about it. It's a C. Now, it's not a bad boss fight. I think it's high C. So, like I said about Artorias, the DLC feels faster. The bosses move faster than in vanilla Dark Souls. And Sanctuary Guardian's kind of like the intro to that. Like, okay, these bosses coming up are going to move a lot faster. It's pretty easy though. The health pool's not that large on it. And it's pretty easy to dodge. It's pretty easily telegraphed attacks. I did beat this one with the range build and it wasn't too bad. The only one I didn't beat with the range build was Manus. And yeah, so I would say Sanctuary Guardian C. Now the one change I'm going to make, I am going to put Nito into A tier because I do like Nito that much. And let's see if there's any other changes I would make. No, I think that's it. I think that's my list. So there you have it. That's my Dark Souls ranking. So we'll do some more Dark Souls tier list on Twitch. I'll probably put this up on YouTube as well, but I like doing these tier list rankings. So, but that's my Dark Souls 1 boss tier list ranking. So if you agree, let me know. Since this is going on YouTube, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and make your own. I think I'm going to put this in the description, the link in the description, and you can make your own tier list and let me know what you think. Yeah, let me know in the comments what your tier list would be, and we'll do more of these. And this was recorded on Twitch, so go follow me on Twitch if you would like to, and subscribe if you liked this stuff. So thanks, guys.